man, the zoom angle on my face for the last 2 years has driven me crazy. So I don't want that to be like a lasting, indelible impression on anyone. And fortunately, I think we managed to come up with a good setup here, just with the space and everything that we've been through. We collectively, all of us, with COVID and managing to go about our business. Last week, I had a great visit, a tough visit with Mickey Loomis and Mrs. Benson and Dennis Lauscha, relative to just looking ahead with what I want to do. And Mickey and I now, we're 16 years, and so I think that was challenging just because of our friendship more than our professional relationship. And then Mrs. B was awesome. I love this about her. She said, well, go away for 2 or 3 months and come back in training camp and we'll be ready to go. And I thought that sounded pretty good, actually. But I'm glad that she told me to spend some time away and give this some thought, because it is a big decision, and it certainly affects a lot of people. It's not often you as a coach have that opportunity to possibly leave, and it was something that certainly I hadn't really thought about over the years. We coach, and at some point they tell you to leave, and as difficult as being fired is, it sure seems easier to thank everyone and move on your merry way. But this, I'll try to hit everything, and I'm going to ask or answer every question until you guys are done answering. So I'm sorry if this takes a while, but yeah, we're not in any hurry. So I like watching Netflix. I like watching TV shows. I think you guys do as well. And it's Mardi Gras season, and I'm a kind of a Ted Lasso fan, and I do have a regret. 15 seasons, 16 years here, and I've got like the best female owner in the world of sports. And we don't do biscuits here in New Orleans, but we do king cake. So where's Mrs. B? I also have like 100 of them for the media and everyone else that's here, to kind of celebrate the Mardi Gras season. I want to start and bounce around here, but I want to start with a series of thank yous. It's important. And so thank you, Mrs. Benson, for being no better. There could be no better owner for me to have worked for, starting with your late husband, Mr. B, Tom Benson. When I was sitting around last night thinking about how I wanted this to unfold, I Google searched Breeze, and it's like, I hate following Breeze. And he brought up some of the same stories. Mr. B was always one of those guys that for every meeting I had with him, it was never football related. It was always about something other than football. And he had a dish of Tootsie Rolls and Hershey Kisses. I'd go in there, we'd talk about family, we'd talk about anything other than the Saints, and I miss him, and realize the time and the timing of me coming here back in 2006 was perfect. And obviously us having some early success worked out. But I wish he was here, and Mrs. B, you've been fantastic, carrying on everything about his legacy, and I know he would be extremely proud and is extremely proud. So he's not here right now, but he is, and so I thank the two of you for being for being great owners. And I mean that beyond just being owners. I thought about this. I can't think of one time the answer was no. Now, it might be like, oh, we're trying to do something and we don't have enough time to remodel. And so it might have been time driven, but the answer was never no. And look, that's easy when Mickey has the credit card and I've got the wish list. I'd like to thank Dennis Lausch, our president and a good friend, for people talk about culture and like what's the secret. Teams right now, 8 teams, 9 teams, they're all searching for the right culture. Everyone wants to know how, and it's very difficult. And yet, if I was writing a book, I'd say it's also very simple. The alignment of ownership, your club president, your general manager, your head coach, right through your roster, that sounds easy. But like any relationship, they require work, right? I mean, it requires time and energy. It requires a similar goal. It requires us all to kind of like lay down our arms and our egos for the best of the team. And if we ask that of our players, then certainly we have to ask that of our organization. So it's sometimes, I was fortunate at a young age to really be around some special coaches. My high school coach, my college coach, and then in this league, you know, you sometimes get jobs and it's coincidence. Sometimes it's good fortune. Sometimes it's not good fortune. But those roots for me, or those bloodlines for me, as I look back on it, were extremely important. And I just met with our staff and I told our young coaches, man, you have your feet grounded in, you know, in the job you have, and these things that you want very fast will happen, but they may not happen in the timing that you want them. But the point I'm making about Dennis is it's like a good baseball team right up the middle, from the catcher to the pitcher to the infield to the outfield. We were always in concert. It didn't mean we always agreed, but we were always in concert. And for a first-time head coach 16 years ago, that was important, and more important now that I look back on it than I ever realized. And so I thank you and appreciate you. We had a lot of trips. We had fun trips, crazy trips where the very first year before we drafted Reggie Bush, we were out selling tickets and listening to 80s music and trying to figure out who knew the words. And then when we drafted Reggie Bush, we sold out, and I'm like, thank God we don't have to go on those like those freaking ticket bandwagon drives. We've been sold out ever since. Mickey Loomis, a dear friend. I would say, more importantly, a friend, just as importantly, my general manager, and just as importantly, the person that gave me this opportunity. You know, he took a chance on a first-time head coach, and you guys know kind of the batting average and the challenges for these positions. They're hard. Every year we're reminded of that. And I've written about this, I've spoken about it, and look, I had just interviewed in Green Bay with the late Ted Thompson. I thought I had a great interview, and when I landed here, it was right after Katrina in January, and many of you remember that. And I just thought, when I met Mickey, I thought, man, I like this guy. He's got a heck of a task ahead of him. And I kept looking at my flip phone at the time, waiting for that Green Bay area code to come in. And I got the message that evening that they had gone in a different direction. And I remember just throwing the phone into the pillow and thinking, holy cow. And it was the best thing that happened. And sometimes, again, you don't have any control over that. And so he he trusted his gut. And beyond just hiring me, I can't think, we've had disagreements multiple times, and yet we've always been in concert. And so, like, one of my biggest, not concerns, but one of my biggest second thoughts was, man, I don't want to not be around this really, really good friend of mine. And so, God, and so that's not going to happen. I mean, I'm actually moving into another property here locally, but more than my general manager, more than the person that hired me, more than all of those things is, I would say, one of my best friends. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I mean, I could give you 1,000 stories that would be interesting because our personalities are so different. Like, he walks slow, it bothers me. I want him to pick it up. When you make a decision like this, you spend time with your loved ones, you spend time with your family. I've got, a daughter who's out west in media trying to become what many of you are, and a son who's in college. A wife, Skylene, who we've been together for many years, 10 years, and got married last June. And I've confided in those guys quite a bit and talked about these decisions quite a bit. And I appreciate them. And they've been extremely just good listeners, because ultimately, like, we all want happiness for our friends. We want happiness and health for our friends and family. Those are the two things I think about maybe as I've grown older. If your children are happy and healthy, then you're blessed, I think. And so I feel like there's been a very steady listening group here, and without any angle relative to, hey, what is it that you're looking for? Because honestly, as I sit here today, and this is okay, I don't know what's next. And look, I read the reports and I understand. I've not spoken to anyone from a media outlet relative to doing television or radio. Maybe that opportunity arises, but every time I read something that says, like, he's in line for this job, I'll call my agent, Don, and I'll say, Don, did you hear something? Because I have not heard anything. And that's okay. I think I'd like to do that. I think I'd be pretty good at it. But so stepping outside, like in the cold weather today, and being a little uncomfortable professionally or from a career standpoint is okay. I don't like the word retirement. Mr. B didn't like it either. He always said, retirement's overrated. We get sold this whole image of retirement by these investment groups on TV and golf courses and retirement. And so, I still have a vision for doing things in football. And I'll be honest with you, that might be coaching again at some point. I don't think it's this year. I think maybe in the future, but that's not where my heart is right now. It's not at all. I want to thank the media, and I feel this way, and I don't want you to nod your heads in agreement. You can tell me later, but when you come in as a young coach, you make a lot of mistakes, like, because you're trying to do everything you think you need to do, and it's not until you get older and more experienced that you realize the more important things are this and not that. And hopefully, in my latter years, you guys have found me very accessible, very friendly, very open, and maybe eager to please or at least accessible, and that's what the Jenny's ice cream is for every off season and Christmas time. So, but I do appreciate your jobs, and I recognize, especially in the last 2 years, how difficult those have been. You know, people don't understand when all of a sudden you practice inside, and with the COVID restrictions, the relationships that many of you have with our players, it's hard to do those jobs effectively as you might like. I mean, when's the last time you've been able to go into a locker room after a game? And we kind of miss that, really. I do, honestly, and going into the presser after a game and looking at a laptop. And so I appreciate every one of you. I think, and I've worked in a lot of places. I've been in New York, I've been in Philadelphia, I've been in Dallas. Those are big media markets. But I appreciate the relationships and the manner in which you guys have done your jobs. And I mean that, and probably knowing what I knew now, I probably handled my first 5, 6, 7 years differently relative to the media, where you come in and you just don't know enough yet. But thank you, and again, I'm going to see many of you for years to come. I want to thank the city and the fan base. I'm going to get into a little bit of 2006 and maybe the early journey, but I don't think any of us, when we started, certainly I didn't when I started, understood the dynamics and what took place post-Katrina with that 06 season that I thought, and I would argue, was every bit as important as any other season that we've had here relative to where the city was. And it became much bigger than football. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, but this fan base has been amazing. And you do this and you travel to cities and you see other venues. This is by far one of the most difficult places to play, and unfortunately we didn't win enough home games this year, but man, the fans are something else. It's not a wine and cheese crowd. You know, people make decisions to buy season tickets here that goes into their budget relative to what other things they're choosing to do. We appreciate all of that. I have a really good memory and can remember back in 06 when we drafted Reggie Bush and we drafted the rest of that class and the excitement level. I don't have a history. I've met, now Tulane Stadium, Jeff, I'm guessing holds 70-some thousand people. I don't know, all right, but I've met 110,000 people. They told me that they were there for that game and the kick return over the years. And the passion that has been handed down generationally is unbelievable. Because when you're a young kid, you root for who your dad or mom root for. You don't know. And so the amount of stories post 09 season, where a grandparent wasn't alive to see a Super Bowl, but they were, all of that just makes what we do, like, man, fulfilling, pretty special. We're teachers, but that's unique, and I don't know that any player back then when we signed on, or any coach, myself included, knew quite actually what we were getting into, and that's the truth. So thank you, City of New Orleans, our fans. I'll be honest, when I hear the Bengals, and I'm rooting kind of for Cincinnati a little bit in the postseason, but the Who Dey thing that came after. I don't know if many of you remember the movie Jerry Maguire. There's a scene in that movie where Tom Cruise is in an office building. He shouts out, "Who's coming with me?" And he grabs a goldfish, and Renee Zellweger says, "I'll come." And they began a journey. And in 2006, 16 years ago, it kind of felt that way at that time. There's a special spot in my heart for the coaches, the staff, the players, everyone who came when 90% of the cars were leaving. I can remember the trip in on I-10, and there was no traffic heading south, but all of it was going north. Coaches like Pete Carmichael, Joe Vitt. Joe Vitt he was the only coach that I hired that year that had a number of other options, and he chose to come. Everyone else, every one of us that came were all promoted and just paid better. Curtis Johnson, Greg McMahon, Gary Gibbs. I'm not going to be able to hit on every one of them, but those of you that coached in 06, I can't tell you how thankful I am, because like we actually had a rule. We came up with a rule after our first month that no one could say the K word. No one could say Katrina, because there were a lot of reasons for why we weren't going to be successful, and we tried to look past those. So to those coaches, I appreciate it. Here's what will help you be successful, Deuce. You draft Reggie Brosh in the first round. He plays 10 years. You draft Roman Harper in the second round. You acquire Jeff Fain. He starts at center. Roman plays 12 or 14 years. You draft Jari Evans in the fourth round. He's going to end up in the Hall of Fame someday. And you also acquire Hollis Thomas, a nose tackle who I was with in Philadelphia. You draft Rob Ninkovich. I'm back to young and dumb here. I'm back to young and dumb. And I don't have a vision, and so we let him out of the building. He comes back in the building, and I tell him he's going to be a long snapper, and then he goes and wins 2 Super Bowls for New England. We make mistakes, but he ended up being a fantastic player. And in the 7th round, you draft a lineman out of Northwestern by the name of Zach Streif. He plays 12, 14 years. He does play-by-play just because he wants to, and then he becomes an assistant coach here. And you draft Marcus Colston with a compensatory 7. So when we talk about the quick window we all have to get started, earn credibility, get your program off the ground, it has to include the procurement of good players. It has to. And we didn't know it then, but those were the pillars, along with any free agent that came. Pierre Thomas is going to come a year later. But those were the pillars of young players that we built on. Now, mind you, we also signed in free agency Scott Fujita. He came we knew each other. Mark Semino, we acquired a week before the season. Scott Shanle, Drew Brees. That's a pretty good group of free agents. We took a chance on Drew at that time because, quite honestly, we weren't going to win any jump balls. And that's the truth. Like, in other words, we had to be a little overly aggressive to win the game, if you will. The status quo and so, man, it was the best chance we took. And so I thank Drew and his wife Brittany and their family. I spoke to him at length last night about this decision for the first time. And he was fantastic. And I did call him during the season, and we discussed him coming back. And I think both of us agreed, based on our lineup versus Miami, it was a good thing he stayed and didn't come. I also want to thank the players that were here, that were ready to win, and wanted to join in. Bill taught me that remove the blinders when you're evaluating these guys and understand there's going to be good football players. Deuce, we talked about it just a minute ago. John Stinchcomb. I'm not going to hit everyone. The late Will Smith, Steve Gleason, Charles Grant, Brian Young, Freddie Mack. There were a number of players on that roster that were thriving for this culture change. And Therein lied a little bit training camp at Millsaps, and that was difficult. And yet, so there's elements that went into that '06 team that that were extremely important. And back to those coaches, myself as the head coach, I kind of feel like we're in this business of serving. We're teachers at heart, and we're grateful to be in this position. Quite honestly, I know for me it was play until they tell you you can't play anymore, and then it's like, well, all right, I don't want to leave though. All right, then you have to coach. And I've always felt grateful to be able to teach and be part of the locker room, even though I wasn't playing. And our roles as teachers are those of service. And so I appreciate that group of coaches and that team. And I still say to this day in '06, we've had a lot of teams, probably teams that are better than the '06 team, but none tougher than that '06 team. None tougher than that '06 team. And that leads me back to that whole city rebirth and fan base and people. That's when I grew to know, like, holy cow, this is bigger than any, this is more than just football. This is more than just football. I didn't know how to eat a crawfish at that time. I was kind of on the beignets, the king cakes with cream cheese, a number of things, but everyone wanted to know, hey, how do you like it here? And honestly, in your first year, when you're not from here, you're figuring it out. Here are the players that have won a Pro Bowl or been selected All-Pro in these 16 years. Teron Armstead. I want you to know this about him. If there's one thing, he is a tremendous leader and a tremendous player. Drew Brees, Jamal Brown, Jermon Bushrod, who's working with us now, tight end Jared Cook, Demario Davis, tremendous leader. Jari Evans, Jonathan Goodwin, Jimmy Graham, J.T. Gray, Ben Grubbs, Roman Harper, Deontay Harris, Mark Ingram, Malcolm Jenkins, Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, Mike Carney, Marshawn Lattimore, Will Lutz, Thomas Morstead, Carl Nix, Andrus Peat, Ryan Ramczyk, Jeremy Shockey, the late Will Smith, John Stinchcomb, Michael Thomas, Jonathan Vilma, Max Unger, Larry Warford. So here's a problem. When you get married in the off season, you can't invite your team. When you get married somewhere in a different destination, you got to invite maybe your captains of your Super Bowl team but for every one of those players that didn't get an invite, I would have. That would have been awesome. And those that did, they spent enough to make up for the rest of you. But I'm proud to have had the opportunity to work with so many great players. I'm thankful. I mentioned the '06 draft class to get to the '17 draft class. You ready? Because we need another shot in the arm here. Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Williams, Alvin Kamara, Trey Hendrickson, who's still playing, and we wish him well. It's a people business, and the thing that I'm most proud of is collectively in scouting, Jeff and your group and everyone involved in the procurement process, we've consistently found the right people that fit what we're trying to build. I'm not able to mention every player's name, but I am able to thank every player today. I can't hit on every coach, my current staff. I just, in a staff meeting, told them our record was 9-8, and we didn't get in the playoffs. We're rooting against the Rams right now because of that. But I'm proud of the job they did this year. It was extraordinary. So for every coach who's been here, every scout, every staff member, the people that take care of the facilities, the equipment guys, security, the last word I wrote down is the building. You know, and I've heard that saying, it takes a village. And honestly, it takes a building to be successful. Not in 1 year, but it takes a building to be successful year after year. And for me to have a chance to be a part of that building and in a position to coach so many of these great players and be around so many of these great people, Jay Romick, I can't hit on everyone, but man, the tireless amount of time and energy people spend, especially in the last 2 years, I thank them. I thank them. All right. That's a lot. We're going to have questions here in a minute. I don't know what's next, and it kind of feels good. The last thing I did before I went to bed, I Google searched how not to cry during a speech, and one of the items was drink water and yawn. Well, I didn't want to yawn, but it worked a little bit. So with that, I'll open the floor to questions.
Let's come up to the podium, if you would, for your question right here.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
The question was, why now? Every year you go to training camp, and the one unique thing about our job is it's entirely different than your summer. And I don't know if it was a year earlier, maybe, depending on when Drew retired. Look, he and I never discussed when his last game would be or when I'd be finished. I just felt like this season it was challenging for everyone. But man, I felt like it was time. I felt like it was time. You know, I kind of knew maybe heading into training camp this might, but you don't share that with anyone. You think, well, let's see how the season goes, and we're working hard, and I felt the time was right for me. I felt the time was right, and it's something that I've been thinking about. You know, I think that, look, you have close friends in the industry. I've lost a few close friends in this industry in the last 2 or 3 years. And also, you know, forget football. There's other things, spending more time. There's a lot of sacrifices you make. And so not many get to choose their terms. And I looked at it as an opportunity also to see my kids more, to travel some more, to get in better shape. There's an attrition 2 a.m, and I know I hear people say, well, you don't have, yeah, I get it, but I need to. That's the way it works for me. And I think the attention to details are so important that it can be exhausting. And so I felt, as this season was winding down, that it was the right thing. And then the last week and a half, yeah, I'm comfortable with that. And now, Here's the thing. Our division. So we had won 4 divisions in a row and competed our tail off. Tampa Bay this year won the division, and congratulations. And yet, man, we battled against them. Atlanta and Carolina, they're working to get things going. And so I like the roster. Yeah, there's some challenges, but man, we played good defense this year. Man, our kicking game, Riz and Phil, were outstanding. Consistently in the top 5. And you see a lot of exciting football, but you also see a lot of bad football, and it's hard for the fan to see it. And there's a young group of offensive players. But it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that. It was a personal decision of feeling like, it's time. So it's sometimes hard to, but not with any regret. There's some excitement, like, all right, what next? And I honestly don't know what's next. Next question. So have you felt that for a couple of years? Or no. Look, you feel that way going to training camp every year. No, it's been the last season. No, it's been the last season. Now, the hard thing about this game, and you guys know this, the losses are always challenging. The work week, Monday, and there's a little bit of grit that defines players and coaches. And when you get the right group, you respond. We've had some challenging losses. We've had some great wins, and I've always loved how we've responded. I think I love when I hear people say, man, your guys play hard. They're tough. And those are important traits that hopefully, we're part of developing, but it still gets back to the players and the people. But no, I would say it's been more this season.
Sean, how do you want to be remembered?
It's too early for that yet. I know this. The question is, how do I want to be remembered? And someone who had passion and someone that cared a lot. Winning's important in that. It's important in that. I thought about my mom, if she were alive today. 2 things. I wore this shirt because she always said, you have to wear this color, it matches your eyes. She'd be in her 90s today. Her and my dad are both passed away. But they talk all the time about like leaving a place maybe better than when you got there to begin with. And I think we've done that. And it's not finished. We've got all these coaches that are sitting here with contracts, and Mickey and the leadership in place to continue that. But yeah, we're not writing an obituary today. It's a step. It's just another direction.
Along those lines, you said you don't want to call it a retirement, but does the team need to make a clean break? This isn't a maybe I'll come back next year situation.
No, Mike, that's hard to do any of that, right? I think in fairness to Dennis, who's a great candidate in the building, or any other coach that possibly would be hired, I think that there's no half in this game. You're jumping in the deep end and you're swimming. And if you elect to stay out, then that's fine. But I think that, I think that's the approach that I think has to be taken.
And I think you basically said this, but I don't want to put words.
Go ahead.
You're not going to consider coaching anywhere else.
Yeah, I don't, and look, they're going to be, I can't control, look, I felt like 10 years went by and we talked about the other team for a lot, and I get it, I understand it, but no, my plans are not to be coaching in 2022. And that's just how I feel.
Coach, you jog around the Superdome, high-fiving fans. You've been able to command them to raise their voices and cause problems for the other team. Those fans are watching probably from every corner of the globe right now. What is your message to Saints fans about the world?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be your head coach for 16 years. I appreciate each and every one of them. And so thank you for sticking with us in the good times and in the tough times. They've been outstanding. And so it's really that feeling of being grateful for having a chance to have been a part of this organization and coach for them. Thank you.
Sean, in the conversations you've had with people about this decision, were there any certain statements that really stuck with you or influenced you in any particular way?
No, look, when I talk to Skylene or when I talk to my children, this isn't something that you can talk with 8 people about today. Even my siblings found out, you know. So no, it was really back to trust your gut. And go with your gut. In other words, when does it end? Does it end when you get fired? I said at the beginning, I think it's easier to be fired, as difficult as that is. You thank everybody and they say, well, we wish him well, he made it. But when you choose to leave, I referenced, whether it's been Tony Dungy or whether it's been Bill Cowher or whether it's been, who are the more recent examples just in how to approach this. But yeah, it was a decision ultimately that sat with me, and I'm comfortable with it.
Sean, what are you most proud of, and what's your biggest regret?
All right, my biggest regret first, besides the Ninkovich debacle, would be the double reverse against Tampa Bay. We ran a double reverse against Tampa Bay in the 4-minute and lost the game. Then Mickey brought me a study on Ambien and its erratic behavior and mood swings with people. I've got a lot of regrets. I mentioned one of them. I wish I would have done a better job early on in my career with the media, and hopefully I corrected that. But yeah, there are always going to be personnel regrets, decisions, but yeah, the double reverse, the Ninkovich decision, there's a lot. There are. It's easy to say you're most proud of a Super Bowl team, but I'm most proud of the culture in the winning seasons. Our first year here was 06. 07, we played in the Hall of Fame game in Canton. We played the Steelers. I believe it was their 50th. There was an anniversary for Pittsburgh. And so every once in a while as a coach, you get into one of these games you're not really sure about. And we had a player that we had just signed. I can't tell you his name, but he was on Pittsburgh's roster. And it was during training camp. So we're talking about a 90-man roster. It was a wide receiver. We go to Canton. We're playing the Steelers. And come to find out, he was cut because the Steelers had found out he had stolen some stuff from the locker room and from some good players there. And so during pregame warm-up for a preseason game, I noticed the level of intensity is a little bit unusual for a pregame. And anyway, we played that game and got waxed. And we did a tour of the museum, the Hall of Fame. And aside from the Katrina exhibit, there wasn't a Hall of Fame player. Ricky was going to go in, I think, a year or two later. And so I talked to the players a little bit about culture, and now many of them weren't aware of the Steelers story, you know, with Chuck Noll and the years there that they were close, and then finally, you know, they get over the hump, and man, that time frame is shorter now for young coaches, for new coaches. But if you can, that you can build something that that will stay for a while. And so I would say, Larry, it would be how we're viewed today by anyone who's 21, 22, or younger is pretty cool, pretty good.
What are you going to miss most about coaching?
What will I miss most? I'll miss the people. There's a feeling when something happens in a game and you watch one of your players do something and grow that any teacher, I think, would tell you is awfully rewarding. Regardless of whether he's a starter, a backup, or a practice squad player, but to see them improve or get better and do something extraordinary, man, like that can fill you. So the relationships and then, you know, the teaching part of it.
How does this ending, if you will, compare to what you could have imagined or expected when you first arrived?
Impossible, right? I mean, impossible to predict. The question was, you know, how would I have envisioned the ending? Honestly, you don't even think about the ending. Like, you don't have time to think about, what if you don't have time to think about. So for the last, call it maybe week, I've thought about not the ending, but the presentation of the ending, like this. But I don't think when you're young and going fast and trying to build something, you're ever considering what it's going to be like. There's a motivation, a strong motivation when you discuss like fear of failure. That's I think a very real driving force.
Just from your time in the business leading up to then, you were open to the idea of 15 years.
I honestly had no idea about 15 years. You're just focused on just going and winning and winning and getting more players and people that can help you win. And it doesn't seem like 15 seasons, honestly. It seems probably more like 11. And it's never, you know, I always say this when I see the children of our coaches, you know, when I see Dennis Allen's children or Pete Carmichael's children or CJ's children or you Dan Dalrymple, that's what ages you. Because you remember, you know, their ages when you first started. But you see those other people like the same way. You don't see the age, really, because you're around them so much.
Coach, talk about how tough the season was. How excruciating was it for the Bucks game to be sitting on that sofa watching the game at home, to be
Listen, honestly, it wasn't excruciating because we were winning. It was exciting. I was just like you. Now, not you covering the game, but I was just like you, the fan. And you don't know how that game, you're playing a team that just won the Super Bowl. And you don't move your cup because it's in the right spot. You know, you don't, all those things took place. And so that was one of That was a really good moment. It was a moment that I was so proud for our players and our coaches and everyone that was a part of that win. That was that was unique, obviously, but it was more just like a fan. You know, there's not like there's communication early in the week relative to some early parts of the game plan, but man, those guys on our staff did a great job. Everyone jumped in and really picked up. You know, the roles maybe were different a little bit, and you know, Ryan Nielsen almost got a bench foul for getting into a shouting match with Brady. But when you watch that game, you saw passion. And so, you know, like I told our team, they won the division. They didn't beat us, so.
Sean, you kind of brought up how the way you know how to do it is late in the night, early in the morning, that sort of thing. Did that become harder as your career progressed? And if you looked at any of your mentors, people like Gruden or Parcells, or guidance on that?
Yeah, the question relative to hours and workload, they were all different. The guys I worked with, Bill or John or any of these coaches, we kind of had a formula here. Yeah, it varied depending on the game. Some weeks weren't as long. Part of it's me just wanting to go through it one more time. Yeah, as a coach, though, you would always be interested in the off season when you're at the Combine or the Senior Bowl talking with your peers, other coaches, like, hey, what's your schedule like because we've been in, the last 5 years have been, man, ever changing relative to the off-season program. That's changed. And then look, with COVID, it's even changed more, right? So trying to always figure out the best schedule is something that you talk about to your staff. You talk about it like, hey, you guys think we should be in pads today? Do we should be, that's something that you're always looking at.
How much did the season weigh on you, given Hurricane?
The season didn't weigh on me. Mickey knows this. I'll be honest with you, and I want this to sound the right way. So we've evacuated a couple times, right? We went to Indianapolis, and then I'd say we've had 3 warnings, and in all 3 events, I want to go. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is the perfect chance. Not talking about a crisis. But, you take a team and their family members and an organization to another city, there's a lot of work and money involved in that. This gets back to Mrs. B and Dennis. Will it help us? Yes. Here's why. And then someday a story on why we chose Jacksonville. And I think Jeff got a lot of it right. Those challenges are exciting. Because I've heard, look, and I'm not offended, but I've heard a lot of people say, man, he looked exhausted. And that was probably more he looked out of shape than exhausted. I'm not offended. I'm all right with that. I'm okay. But that gets back to Doug Miller's Zoom camera angle, honestly. And we miss Greg Benzel being here today. He's getting his gallbladder done. So I told Doug, I want a little elevation. I don't want any cameras that are just staring at my neck from 2 feet away. The season wasn't exhausting. It was exciting. And us moving for 4 weeks was perfect. Obviously not for our city, but I'm just saying relative to building a team where training camps in the last couple of years are just different for obviously good reasons. And so here here came this opportunity to develop a team culture and prepare for another season. And so, but this question you're asking, this topic, like there's been so many more times where Mickey's like, and I'm like, no, let's do it. Let's definitely do this. And Mickey's like, it's a thunderstorm. I'm like, that's all right. We can go somewhere. We can do something that heightens the level of awareness.
Sean, that would have been the overall concept, though, of burnout, stress in this profession. I mean, is
I understand that.
don't appreciate enough, maybe? Or?
Well, think about it, Mike. When does the question get asked? No one asked the fired coach if he was burnt out, right? You ask him, hey, how was your time here? What are you going to do next? What have you? And so we'll figure it out. Yeah, there's an element of, I don't know, burnout seems kind of, yeah, it's like the next challenge too sometimes. Like, what's next?
Was there one specific moment where you were like, okay, I need a break, or was it all encompassing?
What was the end of the question?
Or was it all encompassing?
Yeah, I don't think there was one moment. No, there wasn't a moment where it's like, holy cow. I mean, look, no one had fun the week we played Miami. No, that was what it was. And I understand it. But no, there wasn't that moment where you came back in and said, all right. There were moments that you felt like, man, I don't want to be grumpy about something, soured on something, but I'm pretty upbeat, and I would say raised by my mom in a way, and I say this, both my parents, but my mom was very optimistic, and I think those traits, I feel like I'm that way. And so there's times where, you get heated in the game, and, whether it's a player, coach, or anyone, you might have just, but I don't really think about it the next day. So there was not that, this is it. I can't point to one. Well, I've only had a chance to talk with a few of them. It's kind of hard. Once again, it gets back to, how do you do this? Do you have a team meeting and read about it all? Or do you have, and so I'll have a chance over the next couple of weeks to visit with a number of players. I saw Mike Thomas earlier. I saw DeMario. I just missed Cam. But one by one, I'll have a chance to visit with these guys. It's difficult when everyone leaves after the season.
Sean, do you have any thoughts or opinions about what the organization should do next, or maybe what you'd like to see them do?
No. Look, Mickey and I have barely, we've shared time just discussing this, and with Miss Gale and Dennis, that'll all take place at the right time. Listen, I will always have a place and a part of me here, and I'm waiting to move into another residence, but those decisions will come with, hopefully, I just had a meeting with the staff and reflected on a number of things, and hopefully you make an impression like others before me made an impression with me, that I don't even know it, but maybe that I'm passing on to future head coaches, future coordinators, future GMs, because I want every one of them to realize those dreams. Like, I root for, Doug Marrone when he's being a head coach, and now at Alabama, and Curtis at Tulane, and Dennis at Oakland, and any of these people that were part of this process here, regardless of where they're at, you root for them. I do, and because you want to see them have success, and it's important to our program. And no different than our players. I think it's the hardest thing for a player sometimes when they end up on a different roster, man, we're pulling for you. Like, I'm pulling for Von Bell and Trey. Eli a little bit. Go ahead, Jeff. I look at the short term is nothing, but I'll have to go to the Super Bowl for some, a marketing commitment with Zebra, and that's great. They do a great job, and I enjoy working, with their technology and meeting with some people. I'd like to try TV, and I've had some opportunities, and yet I really don't. I talked to Drew a little bit about it last night. I don't know that part of it that well. But that'd be something that would interest me. And so I think the hardest part is sitting in your chair saying, wait a minute, you haven't talked with a network yet? You haven't talked with, not a word. So hopefully that opportunity comes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's the unknown. I mean, all of us, we all get comfortable with certain things, right? We get comfortable in certain shoes. You don't know it until your better half tells you you're going to wear that again, and you realize that it's on like a 4-day rotation instead of, a 12-day rotation. We get comfortable in our jobs. We get comfortable in our relationships. We get comfortable, and every once in a while, and I think this probably plays a big part of it. It's you don't want to have a regret relative to another challenge or another, and so retirement, I don't think is the right word today.
Sean, can you remember the last time you didn't know what was next and how you approached that?
I went through that year of trying to play after college, and friends are getting married, and other friends have health insurance, normal stuff. They're out of college, and I'm bouncing around from the Arena League to the CFL as a backup over in London, and your parents are like, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Well," and so I got hired. Steve Devine at San Diego State was in charge of graduate assistants. They had 4 then. I got hired over the phone. I flew from London to Chicago, Naperville, where I'm from. I had a Cavalier. It was an older car. I drove from Chicago to San Diego. I broke down in Denver. I didn't have enough money to have my car fixed, so he didn't fix it. The guy helped me out. And there would have been a trip where you're like, man, what are you doing? Like, this is what you're doing. And you have to. Like, that's pretty powerful. Like, you have to. You have to be successful. Like, whatever it is, you got to figure it out quick. And generally speaking, it's work hard, make a good impression. And so I'm sure, John, there's been other moments. There's been setback. Just talking with Dan Rochar, University of Illinois, we get fired as a staff, and where are we going? I think if you look at the path of a lot of coaches, there's that same adversity, maybe that also appears with players' paths. An injury or a setback, and this one's a little unique in that it's like you're choosing to go outside in the cold and do this. You're choosing to. So, but that's okay.
Sean, I've always been curious. After 18, was it harder to come back after disappointment away?
What was 18? Oh, yeah, no, that was a hard way to end the season. No, but that was, no, I think we felt like in all of these years, they run together, you know. Look, we've won more games in the last 5 years than any team in the NFL except the Chiefs. And I'm proud of that. And unless your name is Bill Belichick or Tom Brady, all of us are running after the next one and the next one. And Andy is wanting to get this next one. And Sean is wanting to get his first one. Kyle's wanting to get his first one. And it's challenging and difficult and chasing it, because here's the thing, and I think the hardest thing about the 18 season is you're a game away. You get more excited for the players and the coaches on your team that have never been, they don't understand. And I recall saying this a number of times. I don't know what you think it's like to be in a Super Bowl and win it. So picture that question posed to a player, or for that matter, anyone in here as part of the organization. And then I want you to times it by 100,000. That's how good it is. And it's like, really? 200,000. And even when you look back on those moments where in 09 when the season ended, you're not ready to stop playing. Like, you're like, I don't want this to stop. And so the frustration later in your career is, you know, you've watched something or done something and you can't wait to show your friend, like, where do you see this movie? And you really want to watch it again, almost more than they want to watch it for the first time. Or experience, like, where do you try this dish? And you're like, I don't want to try that. You're like, no, I'll eat it with you. That is the Super Bowl. And so that's one of the things that you look forward to doing, is watching others' reactions. Like, where do you see pregame warm-up? You're not going to feel your feet. And you're like, what? Yeah, those are the things I mean, Mike Westhoff, who's been in the league for however many years, this is going to be his first chance. That's what you want for the players, the coaches, and everyone new in the building that wasn't around for that. It's the journey part of it is the most amazing part.
Sean, come September, you turn on the television in week 1 and things are shown. How strange will it be to see someone else running out the team?
So I haven't seen the schedule yet, so I don't know if it's week 1 at home or on the road. No, I think that'll be, yeah, it'll be different. It was different. Look, it was different in 2012 for sure. It was different for one game this year against Tampa, but that ended up being pretty good. And I think it'll be different. It'll be, yeah.
Sean, do you think this day wouldn't have been possible for you if you didn't have the one Super Bowl win? Do you think it'd be harder to step away if you hadn't gotten there?
I don't know that impacted today, Mike. It's a great question. You know, would this day be more difficult to step away had you not won a Super Bowl yet? But the problem is, like, one's not enough. It's not enough. And championship games and, you know, I called Mike Tomlin during the season. Mike Tomlin in week 5 became the 4th fastest coach to win his 150th game in the history of the NFL. Like, and I knew like he was 3 weeks ahead of me, and it was bugging me. And he did it after 232 games, and like 4 weeks later, we do it. And I call him and I said, look, I got to the gas station and they told me you were already here. And it drove me crazy. So there are all these things that are competitively in you that you want to excel at. And that's why I get back to, and I say this with all due respect, and I mean that, when we got here, who's doing this better than anyone? And if you weren't studying New England, then you weren't paying attention. So anytime Bill would say or ask, would you like to practice? Yes. And then when you were practicing, you were kind of like, can we come in? Like, what do you mean? Can I look at your locker room? Can we look at your weight room? We want to learn. And I find it, look, I understand it's their job, but the whole discussion of, was it the chicken or the egg, Bill or Tom or Bill? Are you kidding me? Like, all right, the Hall of Fame is pretty special, and it's got a tremendous legacy of players and coaches and people that have been involved in the game. And so now picture this for a second, Jeff. You got to pick a starting lineup out of the Hall and a head coach. And once their legacy is finalized, the head coach is Bill and the quarterback is Brady. And we can argue about every other position. I have opinions on who the receivers are. I have opinions on who the tackles are, who the defensive backs are. There's no argument relative to, might be a backup Q, might be the assistant head coach that'll help with defense. But that was the team, and that was the crash course. How are they? And you know what? Culture, smart players, selflessness, team, all those things. And obviously a fantastic surrounding cast and a great quarterback, like we were able to acquire here with Drew. Listen, I'm telling you, if like someone said, hey, this is where you're going to be at after 48 minutes, I'd be like, I'll take it. Because I worry about stumbling when I talk with Mickey or about Mickey. I worried about stumbling when I talk about Drew Brees. Stumbling meaning having to drink this water. And I'm just bringing up 2 examples. But like what personally those 2 people have meant to my career, it's you can't put a price on it. So I don't know that I feel comfortable, but I began to feel more comfortable, I think, after I gave Mrs. Benson the Ted Lasso biscuit. Hard. You know how you have something you have to do, and it's like you're not procrastinating it, because quite honestly, it's a little embarrassing in that we're right in the middle of the playoffs, and you don't want to be like, we just had a great weekend of football, like unbelievable, and we're getting ready to have another great weekend with the championship games, and so you don't want to be a distraction to that, honestly, and so it's kind of like that. You want it to hurry up and you want to do it. Yeah, you want to do it, and then it's like, all right, how do you do a good job of it, and how do you thank everybody? Like, who am I missing today? I'm sure I'm missing someone, and I apologize. But as a player here, as a coach here, as someone that was a part of our organization, like, it's the building. That's what I'm most proud of. And that's what I'm grateful for. Well, that went back to the irrational behavior with Ambien. I slept okay.
Sean, you've been talking about, the unknown and how you're okay with that, but your identity has been coaching for so long. Were there points in this whole process that you were scared to say?
Well, here's what happens sometimes, Catherine. The game ends. Like, all right, Connor and Megan. Connor was maybe 9 when we won a Super Bowl. Megan, 13. I'm just guessing ages, right? But I have pictures of them on the podium. Connor blowing a bubble and Megan with a broken forearm from cheerleading. And man, life is good to be the child of a coach who's just won the Super Bowl. And then there are these other games where it's been a tough loss. They see you afterwards. They're not tearful, but they're emotional, and they're like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm all right." Like, it's what I do, but it's not who I am. And now they're at an age where they understand that. My daughter, after seeing this over, the period of her young life, decided I'm gonna cover coaches and be a reporter on coaches. And my son, who wants to become in the front office someday, scout, and be a GM someday, said, I'd rather hire and fire the coaches. That's what I'd rather do. And he's awfully smart. And so, yeah.
Sean, what's your advice for the next head coach of the Saints, particularly, and then particularly for a community like this where it's almost like college atmosphere craze around stadium?
I think there's 2 or 3 cities. So, Larry asked a question like, all right, head coaching advice. You have to be yourself. The best advice I ever got, and it was in a book, my head coach in high school, this gets back to being touched by the right people, and you don't even know it's happening. But, as a parent, the greatest gift you can ever receive is when someone, teacher, music teacher, professor, anyone of influence, loves your child for a short period of time, every bit as you love them. That's pretty powerful. Like when someone makes an impact with your child, and my high school coach did, and it wasn't always perfect, but he had in the cover of his book, just be fair. It's much easier to be fair than trying to appear to be fair. You know how much trouble like you get into when you're trying to appear something, and so that was pretty good. Relative to the fan base, just sink it in and take it in, and it's a great football fan base. There might be 2 or 3 others in the world like it, similar to it. And man, how fortunate, like for me at a young age to happen on a head coaching position with it. 05 season, 06, like right after. And look, some things, like we got off to a decent start in 06. Tough game at Cleveland. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I can remember the song playing on the field pregame, and it was a country song about Sundays or something. I can remember Green Bay is when the first time I thought Drew's arm's going to be okay, and I kept yelling at Pete before then, like, is this it? And Drew knows this story. It's like because I didn't have, Pete had the reference as to what it was when it was fully recovered. But he made a pass to Colston on a pylon for a touchdown. We came back, we were down 13, we won that game. Atlanta week 3, and then all of a sudden, like anything else, you guys have heard me say this, confidence like can develop, but it's from demonstrated behavior, and that's what you're watching right now when you watch San Francisco play. Like it's evolving, and they're the team that Tampa was a year ago, and that's powerful in sport.
Sean, what was the key just to maintaining the relationships as long as you did with guys like Pete, Mickey, and Drew, and just that competitive atmosphere where you don't get a lot of people?
Yeah, I think that's an easy question. I think anytime you're discussing relationships, it's the willingness that both parties have in making sure it's strong. And I think relative to Drew being the quarterback for that long, or Mickey and I, or Pete, or any coach, it's the common goal of, like, number one, we like each other, but also we each want to, we're each pushing for the same success. And so those like-minded goals are positive. And I think they help that. Mickey, Gail, and Dennis. That's it. I mean, because I didn't talk with anyone. Like, Mickey, then down the hall to Gail, and then down the hall to Dennis in that order. And then Dennis again, and Mickey and Gail. No, I look, I spent a week confirming what I believed, and that was smart. But I wouldn't say, man, we finished the Atlanta game, beating Atlanta, and in the locker room watching the end of that game in overtime, that it was like, well, this is it. Like, I wasn't saving programs or yeah, I think it was something a little bit more. I thought it could be it. This might be it, and if this is it, and you beat Atlanta one more time, that's pretty cool.
How did you organize your thoughts when you were trying to make a decision?
I don't know that you have to organize your thoughts. Arriving at the decision is more than just give thought to, all right, why? Like, in other words, how do you see this next year unfolding? There's like a lot of things. You put a list together of things that you want to do, like simple things, and then a list of more complex things, and then a list of like what you'd like to do. And you weigh it against, I mean, and this is important, I think, because there have been mixed. I've got 3 more years under contract here. So I've just completed year 2 of a 5-year deal, and it certainly wasn't about compensation, money, or any of that. Because of that, I'm able to make a decision, where there's uncertainty, and yet, it's a decision you couldn't make when you were younger because you had to work. That's all.
How much do you think you elevated kind of, I guess, the Saints' brand to go on a national stage?
Well, I think, when you win, this is always funny. I always like argue with the marketing people. I think you got to win. You can market, and marketing's extremely important. But man, the view never changes when you're on top, and that that part, the importance of having success, and that's how we're measured in a highly competitive field. It's extremely important. And you know, you work 3 years for a Hall of Fame coach like Parcells. Man, you learn so much. You know, you learn so much. And prior to that, you work for the New York Giant organization, go to a Super Bowl, playoffs. You learn a lot. The Mara family, Tisch family, all those people that were instrumental in my early growth. Philadelphia, the Lurie family, and my first job, you know, getting hired by Gruden and Ray Rhodes and those guys. And here's the staff. You ready? 97, 98. John Harbaugh, myself, David Shaw, Gruden, Juan Castillo, line coach, Vitt, coach forever, Emmett Thomas, Hall of Fame player, great coach, Mike Turgovac. I'm going to keep going. Bill Callahan, former head coach. Like, there were all of us just working and to later then see the success that, and to be just a small, like when I say, man, get coffee, cut up tape, but be able to be a part of stuff like that, it's not till later that you were like, man, I was fortunate. I was fortunate.
You've been at the NFL game for like 25 years now. Is there ever anything that you always wanted to do in the fall you've never been able to do?
Anything that in regards to?
Well, like, yeah, anything that you're never able to do, like, you never able to go to Jazz Fest.
Yeah. All right. What do you miss? Thanksgivings are always good. Those are, we play on Thanksgiving. It's not difficult. Christmas is hard. And I don't know outside of that. I thought Jazz Fest was like late summer. Oh, so yeah, Jazz Fest is not impossible. We haven't had it in a while, right? The biggest thing is the stuff you miss with your families and your children. And, you know, they're older now, but they open up a gift and I'm like, do you like it? And you're like, yeah, but I know mom bought it, you know. I mean, it's hard. Some of those things are hard, but I think that's the case with any job. There's certain pros and certain cons, you know, and so whether it's a night job, whether it's a day job, whether it's weekends, whether you're in the military, yeah. But I'm sure there'll be things. I haven't gone to a tailgate ever. And I go by one like every day on the way to the Superdome with the way I come in under the duct. I see them and I'm like, they're having more fun than me right now. I'd make a left and a right and go through the stadium parking, head in, and then it's always tough getting out, you know, leaving. But those people aren't worried about third down. Jenny's will still be possible. I promise the tradition. What's the best way to say it? For the near and coming future. So we do a thing here. I say we. Jenny's ice cream has been great, and you know how Christmas gifts after a while, the turkeys, the hams, whatever it is. But I think that's one like little tradition. I was late this year. I'm sorry, and I guarantee you I didn't probably hit everyone. I always like, you know, make sure Greg, Doug, we check this list. Is there anyone we're missing? But for the challenge this year, scheduling wise, was unique anyway. So that'll be ongoing. Yeah. So how have things changed facility wise? This indoor was a great facility for us. We've changed how it looks. You know, we're fortunate right down the road to have crystal clear imaging, and you can pretty much take a picture and within, 2 days, blow it up and have it here. The banners, those have changed. There's a lot more of them. Weight rooms completely different. Meeting rooms, the interior design. When I was suspended, there was a remodel of the building, and Mrs. B was real smart to take advantage of that. And so I had like an old deer head, and I never hunted before, and an alligator. I had all these things that sat in the office of like the stereotypical coach that you remember on TV. And when I came back, the building had been remodeled, and there was like an oriental carpet that's still in there. Pictures were like to the T, and I appreciate that. And so much has changed, and every year it's changing. We always felt like we wanted the players to come back to a look that was necessary, but also different. A new training room, which was remarkable, a big deal. The locker room, cafeteria here in the future, the meeting rooms that are getting redone now. It's always improving, moving forward, not necessarily for recruiting, but really more so for functionality and being, do we need it? All right. And then what is it we need? And then let's do it. And back to Dennis, Mrs. B, Mickey, and everyone that's a part of that. And it's important that it starts with, do we need it? How's it going to benefit us?
Sean Payton meeting with the media on the day he announces his resignation as head coach of the New Orleans Saints. He's still taking questions. Dude, he literally just wrapped up. Are you kidding me? We were sitting there trying to time the exit for so long, and he's just walking away from the podium right now. Muse, can you believe that?
I mean, it's just fitting,
We were
isn't
sitting
it?
here
Isn't
trying to time out how we're gonna leave this.
An hour and a half.
Oh my God, we missed it by 30 seconds. What in the world?
I mean, what else is new? Good Lord. I mean, you gotta be kidding me, right? It's ridiculous.
Oh, man. All right, let's go to break.
AFR.
If you need dinner plans tonight, Ichiban has got you covered. Essen near Perkins, voted by you the best sushi and best hibachi in the Best of 225 awards. Tell you all the time. Make tonight an Ichiban night. Find your favorite specialty roll. Enjoy a fun hibachi dinner. Or of course, from our friends at Ichiban, their latest concept, Boru Ramen in Electric Depot on Government Street. Authentic Japanese ramen. It's cold outside on a night like this. A hot bowl of ramen would be just absolutely perfect. Right there, conveniently located on Government Street in Electric Depot. If you haven't tried Boru yet, get on by. Authentic Japanese ramen, handmade noodles. The broth is a 30-hour process to make. It is Boru Ramen. So, you know what to do tonight. Make tonight an Ichiban night, or get on by and try something new. Try our friends at Boru Ramen in Electric Depot on Government Street. That's Boru Ramen.
Savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
Dad!
Kids have staked out their place at Ochsner Medical Complex The Grove, where more than 30 pediatricians and pediatric specialists are all conveniently located under one roof, so you can spend less time driving and more time keeping your kids well.
Kids!
It's no wonder kids call dibs at The Grove. Ochsner Health Center for Children.
Bayou Ford has 0.9% for 60 months on new Ford F-150 plus $1,000 bonus cash. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. And right now, get $1,000 bonus cash plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on new 2021 Ford F-150. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing.
I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic, reminding you they now have 8 convenient locations across the Baton Rouge area, open from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. And if you're looking for that COVID test for holiday travel, or you have a holiday event coming up, they're the place for you, as well as a flu shot. It's starting to creep up here during flu season, so if you need that shot, make sure you get that. They now have some available through December. You can find more information on their website, patientplusuc.com. That's Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. Get in and get better.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Call for a free quote to see how much you can save. 293-0450. After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Well, we talked about it at halftime, and it's really it's a credit to every one of these players here. There's not enough room on this stage for all of them, but they carried out the plan, and I'm just proud. I'm proud of this team, the coaching staff, and everybody back in New Orleans gets a piece of this trophy. Here we go.
Sean Payton on the stage there after the Saints Super Bowl win back in February of 2010 down in Miami. On this day, Sean Payton announces that his time as the Saints head coach has come to an end. Glad to have you aboard with us here. We did the first half of the show literally with Sean Payton. I think Muse and I were joking. Do you think, and you cut up Sean Payton press conferences all year, do you think that was longer than the cumulative total of all of his press conferences this season? An hour and a half?
No, I don't. But
the fact that we have to even sit there and seriously debate it?
I mean, Sean had a couple 3-minute press conferences this year. Like 5 of them, actually. And he just went for an hour and a half.
That's crazy. All right, now Scott Shanle is going to join us here in about 25 minutes or so. We'll get plenty of your reaction if you want to join us. It's one of those days. We intended to carry Coach Payton's press conference, did not anticipate it running an hour and a half. Many thanks to our traffic department for helping us blow out the commercial log, to our affiliates. Sorry if that screwed up your clocks as well. But it's a landmark day. I mean, Sean Payton's been the head coach of the New Orleans Saints since 2006. And we're going to give this day all of the breathing room and space and dance floor it needs. And we're gonna do that. So glad to have you aboard with us here. Email me, tweet me, jump in the YouTube chat. You can text me, get your feelings in, anything that you'd like to say or reaction to today's news. Feel free. I'll start with some thoughts. So we have been talking about this for a week now, that Sean Payton was a very likely candidate to be stepping away for TV. And I'll throw another bouquet to my guy, Mike Detillier. I texted him today, and Mike came on this show every Thursday for more than a decade. And he has always said adamantly, Sean Payton is not a lifer. He's not going to be a lifer. He is a Bill Parcells disciple, And at some point, he's going to step away and do TV, probably get back into coaching at some point, but it's not going to be forever. So I guess maybe psychologically I had prepared myself for this day. And as we ended the show, AFR, on Monday, we went around the room, and that was our poll question: do you think Sean Payton's with the Saints next year? And Muse and Paulie and, I don't know, 80% of all of you said yes, and I said flatly no, because I guess I just prepared myself for this. Sean Payton is 58 years old. And, you know, I think we have plenty of time to react to the news. We have plenty of time to discuss what is next and who is next for the Saints. But just like we did with Drew Brees a year ago, we have got to take inventory. We've got to take inventory of what he has done and what his legacy will be. Y'all, you listen to this show, you know this about me. I was born in New Orleans. I grew up a Saints fan. Family went to the Dome forever. Both sets of grandparents had tickets. I spent more time in that building watching bad football than I'd ever care to admit or acknowledge. And the last 16 years have been incredible, something that I and many of you probably never thought we would ever see. Before Sean Payton, the only coach in Saints history with a winning record was Jim Mora. He was 93-74. Sean Payton won 152 games. He had a .631 winning percentage. Before Sean Payton, in 4 decades, the franchise had 1 playoff win and had been to the playoffs just 5 times. Sean Payton made 9 playoff appearances and won 9 playoff games. Buddy D famously promised to wear a dress if the Saints ever made the Super Bowl. That's how far-fetched the idea, the notion was. Because of Sean Payton, we all got to party with the Lombardi. Y'all, the Saints were nothing but a comedy of errors in their history. Ricky Williams in a wedding dress. Danny Abramowitz running into a camera. Archie Manning running for his life. Drafting Russell Erxleben, a punter, 11th overall. Look it up, kids. The Saints existed for 15 years before they drafted a player who would eventually become a Hall of Famer. That was Ricky Jackson. Alex Molden, Chris Naoli, Jonathan Sullivan. Literally, one of the worst professional sports franchises, not just in the NFL, in all professional sports, the New Orleans Saints, for 4 decades. And then Sean Payton and Drew Brees showed up. And they have been the model of consistency for 16 years. There's a lot of Saints fans today who are fearing the regression to those days, to the baghead days, the ain'ts. My contention is, though, the last 16 years have changed that culture. When Sean Payton started his press conference today and he was talking about culture, he said it so many times, and he pointed out it's not just the head coach or the players. He mentioned everything. He mentioned alignment from ownership to the front office, to the coach, to the players. He gave analogies like right up the middle in defense, right up the middle in baseball. He talked about everything from the training staff to the nutrition staff to everything, and getting the right people and then doing the little things. That has what has irreparably changed, irreversibly changed since Sean Payton has been here, is that culture. So, yes, there are cap issues. And yes, there are quarterback questions. But now, unlike before, the expectation is that they're going to get it right. Because they've gotten it right largely for 16 years. The players that are there now expect to win. The assistant coaches there now expect to win. The GM, the president, the owner, they all expect to win. That wasn't the case for the entire history of this organization before he showed up. Sean Payton mentioned, in the last half decade, the only team that's won more games than them is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Saints have become a pillar of stability, like New England or Pittsburgh or Baltimore or Green Bay. They're in that number. The Saints are in that number. Yes, just the one Super Bowl, a lot of playoff disappointments, and we can unpack all of that, and all of that will be part of Sean Payton's legacy, however he's remembered, whatever it may be. But ultimately, he took a franchise that was one of the worst in the history of sports, one of the worst in the history of professional sports, and he turned it into a pillar of stability. We always knew this, Sean Payton leaving, was a very real possibility. We always knew this was a very real possibility, like we've talked about for some time. I am mostly, though, today, not surprised, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the 16 years that Sean Payton gave, and I'm optimistic for what is next because of this era of Saints football. I could not have said that at any other point in the history of this organization. Sean Payton. One day, he'll take his spot in the Saints Ring of Honor. I do think he will coach again. Unfortunately, it won't be for the New Orleans Saints. But whoever does coach the New Orleans Saints next is finding an organization in a completely different reality than the one Sean Payton found early in 2006. It's After Further Review. Glad to have you aboard with us here. We're brought to you by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Blue Bond in Baton Rouge, Ambassador, Caffrey, and Lafayette. Online, theantiagingclinics.com, theantiagingclinics.com. As I mentioned, Scott Shanle is going to join us in about 15 minutes from right now. If you want to get in a call, text, email, tweet, feel free to do it. Remember, the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Hormone replacement therapy, ideal protein, ketogenic medical grade weight loss program, free consultations all this month at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Blue Bond in Baton Rouge, Ambassador, Caffrey, and Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. Okay, quick break. We'll continue. It's AFR.
AFR.
Our Tuesday shows are brought to you by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Chatted earlier today with Adam. He said the phone has been blowing up, and of course, so many of the calls have come from you, our radio audience. And I tell you every single day, and maybe it's just the start of a new year has gotten people looking at their finances, or maybe with the start of the new year, you're getting those insurance renewals, or you're seeing if your rates increased, whatever it may be. A lot of you are calling, and it's fantastic news. I want to reiterate, we all have insurance. State Farm, Allstate, Liberty Mutual, Geico, whoever you have insurance with. And so many of you are overpaying and you're underinsured. Insurance Network of Louisiana shops independently for free to see if they can find you better coverage for less money. There is no charge to you. There is no catch. You call, they go shop to see if they can beat the current coverage you have. If they can, great. If not, stay with what you got. Call 293-0450.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic, reminding you they now have 8 convenient locations across the Baton Rouge area, open from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. And if you're looking for that COVID test for holiday travel, or you have a holiday event coming up, they're the place for you, as well as a flu shot. It's starting to creep up here during flu season, so if you need that shot, make sure you get that. They now have some available through December. You can find more information on their website, patientplusuc.com. That's Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. Get in and get better.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford has 0.9% for 60 months on new Ford F-150 plus $1,000 bonus cash. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. And right now, get $1,000 bonus cash plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on new 2021 Ford F-150. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
To the heroes who are working tirelessly to care for our communities, we thank you. We will never forget the countless hours you dedicated on the front lines, choosing to risk your own health to fight for our friends, neighbors, and family members.
I mean, you guys are out on the front lines fighting it.
We are grateful for your heroic acts and unwavering spirit. Together, we are overcoming this adversity and make our state healthier and more vibrant again. Ochsner Health.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Call for a free quote to see how much you can save. 293-0450. After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Obviously, it's a disappointing way to lose a game. Frustrating, you know, just getting off the phone with the league office. They blew the call, and man, there are a lot of opportunities though, but that call puts it 1st and 10. We're on an E3 plays, and it's a game-changing call, and that's where it's at. So it's disappointing. Credit the Rams, they've made enough plays though. They won the game, the kicker made some big kicks, but for a call like that not to be made, man, it's just hard to swallow, and then to get a phone call.
Very likely the worst moment of the Sean Payton era, the Nola no call when the Saints lost the NFC Championship game as the 1 seed in the Superdome in January of 2019. To be exact, it was January the 20th. And I bring that up only because of this little tidbit provided by Mike Florio, who has a new book coming out, Playmakers, How the NFL Really Works and Doesn't. Apparently, 8 days after that game, 8 days after the Nola no call, 8 days after the biggest disappointment in the history of this franchise, Sean Payton was set to leave the Saints. Mike Florio, in his new book, which is coming out, and he's obviously leaked this excerpt as a way to get people to try to buy the book. He mentioned that Jerry Jones was going to fire Jason Garrett and hire Sean Payton. A deal was worked out behind the scenes. The Saints would have allowed the Cowboys to hire Payton. The Cowboys would have compensated the Saints for the rights to Payton's contract, and Payton would have signed a new contract with Dallas. It was ready to go. It was happening. It was locked. It was loaded. Then came Monday, January the 28th, 8 days after the Nola no call. On that day, New Orleans Pelicans forward Anthony Davis announced he would not sign another contract with the team and requested a trade. Mickey Loomis told Sean Payton that he couldn't be the common thread between a pair of such high-profile Louisiana departures. And just like that, the Payton-Dallas flirtation ended because the Saints would not allow it. How about that? So in a weird, twisted way, we kind of have Anthony Davis to thank for Dallas not getting Sean Payton after the Nola no call. Can you imagine the melt? the melt, if as bad as the Nola no call was, if a week after that, Sean Payton had bolted for Dallas. So maybe Anthony Davis's departure wasn't altogether awful for those reasons. It's after further review. We are a little compressed today. We did carry the entirety of the Sean Payton press conference. If you missed it, Sean spoke for about 30 minutes, talked about he Googled last night how to get through a press conference without crying. Two things were drink water and yawn. Well, he wasn't going to yawn, so he drank a lot of water during the press conference. Sean spoke for about 30 minutes and answered questions for about right at an hour. So he went for about 90 minutes at the podium. We carried it in its entirety for you. And we're going to spend the rest of the show reacting to that and getting your reaction to the Sean Payton news and what is next. Scott Shanle is going to join us coming up right after the top of the hour. And I want his thoughts. He was one of those guys that came in early and obviously was part of the Super Bowl team. I want Scott Shanley's reaction to today's news. Harley Doucette said he thinks Sean is stepping away from coaching for now and will eventually get back instead of finishing his career as a Saint. I do. I've always thought that, listen, we have talked about this for a long time on this show, about how Sean was never going to be a lifer, and he sort of mapped the career of Bill Parcells, who won Super Bowls with the Giants, left, went to TV, got back into coaching with the Patriots, then with the Jets, left, came back to Dallas. That's very likely a path that Sean Payton will follow. He speaks very highly of Bill Parcells, and it's very likely what Sean's going to do. Where will it be? I'm not sure, but it's not going to be in 2022 on a sideline somewhere. But it's after further review. Here comes SportsCenter. Scott Shanle joins us right on the flip side. Stay here.
AFR.
Love telling you about Shawbill's Tire and Auto Service. ShawbillsTire.com. 18 locations in South Louisiana. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. ShawbillsTire.com. Yes, Shawbills is now in Livingston Parish. The Shawbills in Denham Springs is now open. So all across the southeastern part of this state, bumper-to-bumper auto service and name brand tires at wholesale prices. I really want you to do this. If you're in the market for tires or you're shopping for tires and you're not sure if you need tires or where to go to the website, ShawbillsTire.com. Hit the promotions tab at the top, and you'll see all of the current specials. Remember, I tell you about the Shawbills offers, like use the Shawbills credit card. You get $50 off any purchase, your first purchase, when you use the Shawbills credit card. Well, you use that coupled with a manufacturer's offer, you'll save a ton of money. They're going to find a way to get you the best tires on the road at the cheapest price possible. Shawbills, where we keep you rolling.
I've got that blue sky, I've got that sunshine.
Our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I'm Christine Lisi. The latest NFL head coaching vacancy is in New Orleans. Sean Payton stepping away as Saints coach after 16 years. Regarding what's next, Payton says he's not sure. Also said he doesn't like the word retirement. Can't rule out a return to coaching in the future, but it's not where his head is right now. ESPN's Adam Schefter is reporting the Bears finalizing a deal to hire Chiefs Assistant Director of Player Personnel Ryan Poles as their new GM. No surprise a team would hire someone from an organization like Kansas City, notes ESPN's Dan Graziano.
That comes from a place where they've done a lot of winning. He's a young guy. He's extremely well regarded around the league. But teams are looking for people that come from these organizations that have built it the right way and have built strong contenders. Buffalo's assistant GM gets hired last week. One of Kansas City's top front office guys gets hired this week. I would think a coaching hire is not far behind.
Dan Graziano on This Just In. NBA Lakers big man Anthony Davis on the verge of returning to the lineup from a sprained MCL, listed as probable tonight against the Nets. Baseball Hall of Fame tonight will announce its latest class of inductees, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, in their final year on the ballot.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Do you trust Jimmy G in the Super Bowl?
I don't know if he can do it, but I haven't eliminated that possibility
and
yet, for whatever reason.
I'm kind of with Max. So you're indifferent.
This and more, Wednesday, starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
Hour 3 off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. I'm Matt.
I appreciate it, bud. Have a good one.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Musso. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you're driving home with us. A landmark day in these parts. A longtime Saints head coach Sean Payton announced he is leaving the organization. He will not coach in 2022, but did not rule out a return to coaching. So much reaction coming in, and we're pleased to be joined by former Saints great Lance Moore, who, of course, played for Sean Payton from was with the Saints from 05 to 13, but under Payton from 06 to 2013. Lance, thanks so much for a couple of minutes, man. How are you?
Doing well, man. It's a crazy day, but obviously this day was going to come at some point, and now it's about what happens next.
What was your reaction when you heard the news officially today?
Honestly, I wasn't surprised. Just thinking about all of the things that this particular season brought about. I mean, having to deal with a hurricane and displacement. Obviously, Drew Brees being gone, injuries, COVID. I mean, this was an extremely taxing season. Add to that playoff disappointment the previous 3 years. It makes sense to me that he kind of got to this point. He took the time away to kind of figure out what was in his heart and what he was kind of ready for. And to me, I feel like it's going to be more of a recharge or a reset for him. But honestly, you can't put a price on someone's mental health. So if this is what he feels like he needs, which I'm sure it is, then I'm here for it. You know, it's unfortunate as a Saints fan and obviously a former player to see your coach decide that he doesn't want to coach anymore, but it's not up to us to make the decision for him.
We've had this conversation a good bit, Lance. I'm curious if when you were playing for him, if you ever got the sense whether or not you thought Sean Payton would be a coaching lifer, or if he would always sort of exit sometimes earlier in his career.
You know, I never really took the time to think about, you know, what was going on with Sean while I was playing. You know, as the years go along, you start kind of counting them. And it's like, wow. I mean, you look up this season, it's like Sean has been there for 16 years. I mean, he's one of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL. And those years add up, man. I mean, I know, obviously, from a player's perspective, the amount of hours that I put in, but that is multiplied exponentially when you talk about a coach, and specifically a head coach, a guy that is there, obviously, before everybody and there longer than everybody, a guy that is dedicating a lot of his off season when most of us are on vacation or hanging out with our families. He's got combine prep, draft prep, free agency. I mean, all those things. I mean, the job just doesn't stop, and it's very, very taxing. I mean, it's the best sports league in the world, and it's the most high performance business there is. So there's a lot of pressure, you know, and sometimes those things can kind of get to you. And something I've been reading and hearing a lot today, and Coach Cower actually said it on Sirius NFL radio a couple hours ago, is that as you get older in coaching, the wins don't feel the same as they once did. Like, you know, it's kind of, you come to expect it and you don't celebrate it, and it doesn't feel quite as good, but the losses are even more taxing. And usually when that happens, it's kind of like looking towards the end of a coach's career. And I mean, I totally get that. Like, I understand that makes a lot of sense. And if a guy has the amount of perspective to be able to witness and realize that he's going through that, then, you know, good for him to be able to make that call and make that decision, because, you know, obviously this is a roster that's, you know, missing, I would say, a big-time quarterback, but the rest of the roster is playoff and potentially Super Bowl ready with a quarterback. So, yeah, he's walking away from that. He's walking away from money. But, again, you can never put a price on someone's mental health.
Lance Moore is our guest. You're in sort of you have the rare perspective of having been with the Saints before Payton and then such a long time with him as a practice squad member in 2005, and then obviously your long, great career with the Saints. Can you speak to what Sean today during the press conference, I don't know if you heard it, but he mentioned the word culture so many times, and which he's done often. Can you speak to what it was like, that culture shift from 2005 to 2006 and then throughout Payton's tenure?
You know, I don't think it could be any more drastic coming off of that 2005 hurricane displacement Katrina season in San Antonio, with all of the stuff that was going on around us, even beyond the 3-13 season. I mean, there was a lot of craziness going on within the organization then. And then I always say that, like, Sean was the perfect person to kind of come in and right the ship and clean house and really transition from an organization that had to deal with a lot of terrible football and seasons and things happening to them, to an organization that has it together, that has the right people around, that wins games, and obviously eventually bringing a Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, and it's rare, you know, that an organization that was in such bad shape is, you know, gives the keys to a first-time head coach, and he comes in and executes the way that Sean did.
Do you remember your first conversation or your first impression of Sean when you met him the first time?
I do remember my first conversation. I actually was, my agent spoke to him, and allegedly he was saying that he wanted me to go to NFL Europe. This was after the 2005 season. Obviously, he had just been hired January 2006. And I told my agent, I was like, no, I don't want to go to NFL Europe. Like, it's a new coach. I want to learn the offense. I want to be around these coaches and you know, my teammates. And he said, look, man, if if you want to play for this team, then you should probably do what the head coach said. Now, fast forward years later, and I said, hey, man, why did you want me to go to Europe, you know? And he said, I wanted you to go to Europe. And I was like, yeah, that was what my agent was telling me. And he was like, that wasn't me. That was Mickey Loomis. So that was literally our first interaction. I was thinking like, yeah, this guy's trying to get me out of town, you know, get rid of me. And it wasn't even him. But you know, it's just an awesome guy, man. Like, you know, somebody that is very, very unique. You know, got a unique personality, got a great sense of humor. And I've been saying it all day. Like, if he wants to do the media thing, he's going to be TV gold, and he's gonna make whoever hires him very, very happy, because not only is he smart and funny, but he's very insightful, and obviously he's been there and done that. So he's got an interesting and unique perspective that not many other people will have.
He is a New Orleans Saints Hall of Famer, Lance Moore. I had just two more for you. One, specifically with Sean Payton. Look, there are so many smart people in coaching that know a ton of football. But there's something there that differentiates really smart people from the greats that win Super Bowls and are going to go to the Hall of Fame, and like Sean Payton. For him,
I agree.
What is it, Lance? Like, what is it with Sean that is a differentiator?
Honestly, I can't put my finger on what exactly it is, but I agree with every single thing that you said. Like, he is truly one of a kind. You know, because he really has it all. Like, you know, he's smart. He knows football. He's got, you know, Bill Parcells is basically his coaching and life mentor. So he's got those gems that, you know, only somebody like Bill Parcells would have. He is constantly trying to improve, which I'm sure I'm saying all these things that a lot of these coaches have. But for whatever reason, you know, Sean is able to get greatness out of guys, and you know, guys respect him and they kind of gravitate toward him. And the one thing that I missed was like the super fun Sean, like where the guy, he's like dancing in the locker room. Like, he wasn't doing that. He was way too serious when I was playing. But like, as a former player, seeing that, you love to see a coach that has already been at a level of greatness still continuing to evolve and still finding a way to connect with his team and his players on a personal level. And shoot, man, I mean, I think that's it. I mean, somebody who was never, ever satisfied. He's always trying to find an edge, always trying to get a little bit better. And, you know, hopefully he finds what he needs in this time off. And hopefully, you know, secondarily to that, he comes back and leads our Saints. But I'm not gonna bet any money on that.
You think he'll coach again, but somewhere else?
I actually do think he'll coach again. Honestly, there's a lot of things that have to fall into place. But, you know, I think that he's a competitor through and through. And I think a few years off might be a little boring for him, even if he's working in TV and, you know, other things going on. But I do think that he's a competitor, and I think he's going to want to get those competitive juices flowing again, and accept the challenge of being a head coach again. You know, obviously, like I said, I'd love for it to be back in New Orleans, but it usually doesn't work out that way. So I guess we just have to wait and see.
All right, before you go, I'm going to ask you a question you've answered a bajillion times. I got to ask you about the 2-point conversion. Did like you had to know that it was in the Super Bowl. You had to know that it was coming your way. The call coming in, the play. Walk me through all of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's 2-8 speed smash. That's a play that you know, Sean basically put in, you know, one of the first days in 2006 when he got there. I mean, it's a mainstay in his offense, and it's a sprint out play. It's a quick hitter, short yardage play, obviously, and I was the Q8 runner for a number of years, scored touchdowns, 2-point conversions before on it, and none obviously more famous than that when people call me Mr. 2-point conversion everywhere in New Orleans. But you know what? It was, I knew it was coming. I mean, that was our 2-point play. That was the main 2-point play. Every week going into the each game, you have the number or the plays numbered 1, 2, 3, however many they think that you're going to need in a given week. And obviously, usually that play was number 1. So I knew if we had a 2-point conversion in that game that it was going to be my play. It's just a matter of going and making it happen. And, you know, I lined up a little too deep in my alignment. That's why the ball was out in front of me the way that it was. Had I lined up normal, it probably would have been an easy catch and a walk-in, but, I had to make it a little bit dramatic on that stage,
It all worked out for the best, and no one has done it as well as you did for all those years. Lance Moore, Saints great, Saints Hall of Famer, good enough to spend a couple minutes with us on this day. Man, thanks so much for being flexible, for making it work. We really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Be well. Lance Moore, he's on Twitter at LanceMoore16, at LanceMoore16. From an offensive legend to a defensive legend, Scott Shanle will join us next. It's AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery for more than 60 years. That's our friends over at Clegg's Nursery. If you need flowers or plants or trees or shrubs or mulch or soil by the bag or in bulk, Clegg's Nursery has you covered. Clegg's Nursery, 4 locations, Seagoneer Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. I tell you every day to buy local and shop local. And remember that at Clegg's Nursery, everything you'd find at a True Value Hardware store, you'll also find at Clegg's Nursery. They've also got a great fundraiser coming up. They're partnering with the Dream Day Foundation. You can learn more, or you can register for the Dream Day Foundation event, the scavenger hunt event, at the website dreamdayfoundation.org, dreamdayfoundation.org. Family-friendly, kid-friendly event coming up on February the 19th. Learn more again at dreamdayfoundation.org with Clegg's Nursery.
Bayou Ford has 0.9% for 60 months on new Ford F-150 plus $1,000 bonus cash. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. And right now, get $1,000 bonus cash plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on new 2021 Ford F-150. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here for Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic, reminding you they now have 8 convenient locations across the Baton Rouge area, open from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. And if you're looking for that COVID test for holiday travel, or you have a holiday event coming up, they're the place for you, as well as a flu shot. It's starting to creep up here during flu season, so if you need that shot, make sure you get that. They now have some available through December. You can find more information on their website, patientplusuc.com. That's Patient Plus Urgent Care Clinic. Get in and get better.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Call for a free quote to see how much you can save. 293-0450. After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
So I texted Scott Shanle earlier today, see if he could come on after the press conference. Had your view obligations. We tried to make it work. That Sean went an hour and a half, and we had Lance Moore. But Scott's so good to be patient and flexible with us here, as he usually is. Thanks for the time, man. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm doing good.
Let me just start with the obvious one. So what was your reaction when you heard the news officially today?
It was a combination of, I was shocked. I definitely was. I know there's been rumblings out there, but there's been rumblings about Sean Payton leaving for the last 10 years in some capacity. He's going to be traded to every other team in the league. You know, he's going to retire. He's going to step away from the game. Him and Drew are going to go out together. So there's always been those things. But I think just seeing it actually happen for real, I was shocked. Went from shocked to being saddened that we won't have him on the sideline. We won't have that figure that we've been so used to seeing, and every time he's there, we know we have a chance to win, and a little bit of uncertainty about what the future holds. So I would say shocked and saddened were the two emotions.
And you have, I'm so glad we're talking, because you do have like a truly unique perspective as a guy that played for Sean, but then you stayed so close to the organization, covering the organization here. So you listened to the press conference today. I know you had TV with your view. Listening to it for 90 minutes, what or did anything really stand out to you?
I think people got a chance to see the real Sean Payton, and I think he let his guard down. I've seen that more out of him the past 5 or 6 years than maybe we did when we were there in 06 through my time through 13, and just seeing the evolution of him as a person. Sean Payton, the coach, is different from Sean Payton, the person, and I think him going up there today and letting everybody know from the very beginning, he's going to take every question. He appreciates the media member. He appreciates their jobs they do. He didn't appreciate them at first. The appreciation he has for his players. And, when I was playing for him, I said this to somebody earlier, I mentioned on your view, he was a tough coach to play for, very demanding. And it wasn't until I was done playing that my admiration for him as a coach changed to loving him as a coach and as a person, because being around him with my kids, being around my family, the way he talked about me to my kids, I realized I was more than just a number on a jersey to him. And he truly cares about his players. And there's a soft side to Sean. There's a compassionate side to him that a lot of people don't get to see, because they just get to see the coaching side of him in the press conferences. And, I think you saw the real Sean Payton today in that press conference.
You used a word that I was going to ask about, having played for Sean and then covering him. Have you seen him evolve? And I guess it's maybe different, Scott, than just us seeing a different side today. Have you noticed an evolution or change in him?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. And like I said, when he got there in 06, it was his first ever head coaching job, and he was going to do it the way he wanted to do it. And he brought in the people he wanted to, their skill level, their characteristics, their personality was important to him. That's why I felt like our organization changed, because of the type of people he brought into the organization. And he never sacrificed, character for talent. He always find that happy medium of talent with character, and gave those type of guys that he brought into our organization, front office to the locker room, gave us a chance to win. But his evolution as a person, you saw it happen really in the past 5 or 6 years. And us older guys, we're on a chat, and we always laugh like, who is this guy dancing in the locker room with the smoke and the lights? Where was this Sean Payton when we were in 120-degree weather in Jackson, and he didn't give a crap if we had to go out for 2-a-day practices for 30 straight days? So that was the evolution of Sean that we all laughed about. Like, man, we wish we could have got. We were like the kid that the dad was strict to when we were little, and then when we grew up, now he's babying the younger brother. And we're like, what the heck happened here?
Oh man, it's always better for the younger siblings, isn't that kind of how it goes? I guess maybe so. He's on Twitter at Scott Shanle. Good enough to spend a couple of minutes with us here. Do you think Sean Payton will coach again?
You know what? When it first was announced that he was retiring, stepping away, it was what it eventually became to be, I think after watching a press conference, he will coach again. I think he needs a refresher. I think he didn't want to use the word burned out, but I was talking to somebody about this year, watching him go through. He did a heck of a job, an amazing job, all the circumstances they went against. But I'm telling you, as long as I've known him, I get a good sense for body language, mannerisms, and he was burnt out. I could tell by watching him on the sideline, he wasn't the same person. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of different circumstances. I didn't feel like he was having fun. You didn't see the fist pumps. You didn't see him running down the sideline. Those things that we got so used to seeing. And so he doesn't like the word burnt out, but I think that's kind of what happened this year. He needs a refresher and to step away for a while.
This day is obviously about Sean Payton and his legacy. There's the obvious question, though, Scott, of who's next. And because you do cover the team also, I mean, it's appropriate for me to ask you, what direction do you think they will or should they go next?
I'm 100% on board with. I think Dennis Allen has to be the next head coach for the New Orleans Saints. First of all, I think they have to stay inside the building. The culture is too good. There's way too many positive things going on in that building to step out and bring somebody from the outside in who's going to bring in his whole coaching staff. I think it's a huge risk. And I'm telling you, there would be a ton of guys on this team severely disappointed if this staff isn't kept together. There would be disappointment if Dennis Allen or somebody inside the building already is not named head coach. There is a chance to still do a lot of really good things because of the people in that building, and I think they have to hire from within.
It's going to be and look, and Scott, I would also assume like timing matters, right? Because Dennis Allen's been interviewed in Chicago. Like, you got to move quickly now if you're the Saints. You're going to make that type of decision. I also wanted to ask about your go back to 2006. I mean, you were traded to New Orleans, so New Orleans traded for you. They traded a 7th-round pick for you in 2006. Do you remember your first interaction or first impression of Sean Payton when you met him then?
Well, Sean was in Dallas when I was here, so we were here for. I've been around Sean for a couple of years already. He was the offense coordinator for the Cowboys, but I didn't know him. I mean, we were on different sides of the ball. Not a whole lot of interaction besides what he saw me doing in practice. And that was about it. So that's why I always tell young guys, you never know who's watching you. You never know who is going to impact your career, because Sean and I didn't have a relationship in Dallas. He saw me every day in their staff meetings, what the defensive coaches said. He saw me on tape. He saw me covering his tight ends and his running backs. And when the time came and he needed a linebacker in New Orleans, he's like, I want that guy. And so it's a great lesson for guys going into the league that I always tell. You never know who can impact your life. Do the right things. Just 100 miles an hour all the time. And I'd never forget when I got traded, I got the call from Bill Parcells, and I remember almost cutting Bill off and maybe offended him, but I was like, thank you, Coach. I was so excited. I was so happy to be traded to an organization with coaches I knew. Gary Gibbs was there, Coach Payton. I was excited about starting from scratch and helping build an organization, the foundation at an organization. And so when I saw Sean Payton, the offensive coordinator, was way different than Sean Payton, the head coach. His ability as an authoritative figure, as a CEO, I was blown away. It was the most I'd ever heard Sean talk, because obviously Bill Parcells is going to be the talkative one in his organization. And I was just blown away with his ability to galvanize and get guys ages 21 through 35 all on the same page. And when he spoke, everybody listened. Everybody respected what he had to say. Now, everybody loved him. He ran a tough training camp, and you knew that things were going to be different in New Orleans by the way he ran things from day one.
Before you go, Sean's legacy in New Orleans is obviously intact and will be. He's the greatest coach that's ever. It's not even debatable, obviously. If I asked you, what is Sean Payton's legacy in New Orleans, what do you say?
You know, I have images. I have images more than I do words, because I think there's no question that he's the greatest coach ever to coach for the New Orleans Saints. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. What he did as a head coach, he's one of the greatest offensive minds our game has ever seen. Him and Drew together were a match made in heaven. But what's cool about Coach Payton's legacy is when we call him the greatest Saints coach in their history, you can go to every other organization around the NFL, and I think you can make an argument that no other coach had a bigger impact on an organization than Sean Payton, especially when you look at when he came in, where the organization was, more importantly, where the city and the state was. No other coach had a bigger impact on an organization than Sean Payton.
You said images. What images come to your mind?
Man, I go through the Rolodex of, from 06 starting off and seeing the running down the sideline, the fist pump, the Tiger Woods fist pump, the taunting of the coaches across the field. There were so many great moments, watching him as an analyst go over to Devontae Freeman and give him the choking gesture after the Falcons choked the Super Bowl away. Watching him today take a shot at Eli Apple in the post-game press conference. I tweeted it out and I said, that's our coach. We played with an edge and an arrogance and an attitude that Coach Payton was proud of, and he brought that to us.
The Eli Apple dig today was pretty awesome. I really, really liked it. He is Scott Shanle. He's on Twitter at Scott Shanle. Y'all give him a follow. Of course, you can watch his commentary on Your View, and he's always generous with his time. Hey, man, thank you. I know you're busy today, but thank you so much, as always, for making a couple of minutes.
Absolutely, no problem.
Be well. Scott Shanle, former St. Grade Super Bowl champion. Yeah, I guess I should have known the parallel there that Peyton was there with him in Dallas. I guess I just never pieced that together, but it's been so long. It's been 16 years. But, yeah. Interesting perspective as always from Scott, and a guy that's comes from a different angle, right? I mean, played for him, but has spent the last half decade or so, maybe even longer than that now, covering the Saints. So looking at things through a more critical lens. Always appreciate that. And how interesting too. The Lance Moore sort of shrugged his shoulders, said, "Yeah, I wasn't surprised," and Scott said he was shocked and saddened today. So. Even those that know him well, played for him, know him best, have different reactions on a day like this. Hey, I want to remind you about DraftKings. The DraftKings Sportsbook, the report came yesterday that it looks like, fingers crossed, knock on wood, Friday could be the day where they turn on mobile betting in Louisiana. The DraftKings Sportsbook, it's almost here. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Do it right now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the code Baton Rouge, and they will give you $100 in free bets. Again, this is not a deposit match. You don't have to deposit anything. Just for downloading the app and using the code Baton Rouge before they go live, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you $100 in free bets. Do it right now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-770-STOP. 21 and older. Louisiana only. Availability varies by parish. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full terms and conditions. All right, we'll knock out a quick break. At some point, we were supposed to chat with Larry Holder, but Sean Payton talked for an hour and a half, so I will maybe catch up with Larry. Otterlocks is in 15 minutes. Thank you for being here. It's AFR.
AFR.
The official banking partner of the New Orleans Saints, of the New Orleans Pelicans, of the LSU Tigers. That's Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC. For 120 years, Hancock Whitney Bank has been the banking partner of so many of us along the Gulf Coast, expanding along the Gulf Coast, helping us recover from storms like Hurricane Ida, or helping us open small businesses, wherever that may be. Maybe it's planning for that financial goal you have, if it's an early retirement, if it's putting your kids through college. It's Hancock Whitney Bank. They've got small business banking, commercial banking, wealth management. All of their banking products are there. And you can learn more at the website at HancockWhitney.com. Online banking, mobile banking, everything you'd expect, right? Everything you'd expect from a large bank, but with the community feel that they've offered their customers like me for 120 years. HancockWhitney.com to learn more. Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC, the official banking partner of the Saints, Pelicans, and LSU Tigers.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health. innovating healthcare.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford has 0.9% for 60 months on new Ford F-150 plus $1,000 bonus cash. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. And right now, get $1,000 bonus cash plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on new 2021 Ford F-150. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Call for a free quote to see how much you can save. 293-0450. After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
This is an exciting day for me and my family. I'd like to first thank Mr. Benson, Rita, for giving me this great opportunity, coach a great organization. Obviously, 2005 was a traumatic year for this area. It was a tough year for this team. I hope that in some small way, the effort of this team in 2006 and beyond will represent this city and region well.
And we've come full circle. Sean Payton, when he was introduced back in 2006, and today he says farewell to the organization that, let's be honest, he built. Larry Holder has covered Sean Payton for some time now, and obviously was there today as Sean Payton said farewell. Thank you for joining us here. How are you?
I'm good. I will say that I am a little surprised that he walked away.
Okay.
I just think that he needed a break, and I appreciate his honesty in saying that, look, it's not like that he doesn't think he might not coach again. He kind of just told it like it is. Maybe he does TV. But it's just kind of hard to fathom that he is not the head coach of the Saints anymore. And I was not at that soundbite press conference. I started on the Saints beat. My second day on the job was Drew Brees' opening press conference when he first signed. But I have been with Sean Payton the entire way. And it's a weird, bizarre day. Just to know that he's not going to be there as their head coach permanently. And then yet you look at it in the sense that you reflect on it. And as you said, this franchise is not where it is without him. No ifs, ands, or buts about
it. He spoke for 90 minutes today. Just the process of what we saw today, the emotion, the how elaborative he was. What was your reaction listening to this man you've known and talked to for 16 years?
Well, you get into some of these press conferences, and it's funny because you can get Sean Payton going, telling stories and reminiscing and things, and when it's not game week and you're not pressing him about injuries and controversies and things, Sean is very good about these sort of things, and it's you don't get to see that a lot. in public settings. And, I've been fortunate enough to be around him in many, many settings that are not, so what's going to happen with Mark Ingram? And you get to see that side of Sean Payton. And, I think just when you see the way he speaks in some of these situations, you can almost see why he connects so well with the locker room and connects so well with the coaching staff. And, you think back on it, he's been around for 15 seasons, 16 years with the organization, and you think of, man, how many life cycles of an NFL locker room has he gone through? And I'd probably say at least 3, maybe 4, just because the average life cycle of a player in the NFL is only 3 years or so. And so the fact that you could see why people play for him, and he admitted mistakes. And the question that I asked is, what were some of his biggest regrets as a coach? And he was able to rattle off. One was Rob Ninkovich. One was the double reverse against Tampa. And some other things. And so it's when you get him in those settings, you could see that he's not just this hard-nosed robot kind of guy. He's open and honest. And he said, even as the press conference started, he said, "I'm going to answer every question that you have until you're just run out." And that's when Payton gets in these settings. That's the way he can be. And so it's something that he was definitely ready to answer everything and anything that people wanted to ask.
It was great theater, but it was devastating for a radio show clock, as you could probably well assume.
Yes, your sponsors are probably wondering, where are my spots, damn it?
They're going to be just fine, I promise. There's a sort of very obvious what's next type of question. So, I mean, what do you think?
Well, it depends on what you mean. What's next? What's next for him?
Let's start with Sean, and then we'll go to the Saints.
Yeah, I found his answer, and hey, let's assume he's telling the truth. I guess today, if there's a day to give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess let's do it today. He says he has not been approached by TV, or that he has not talked to TV, and he says, "Oh well, I see all these reports," and he's calling his agent, Don Yee, wondering, what are we doing? Are we talking to these people or what? And so he said that, but also admitted that he would be open to doing TV. And then he's not calling it retiring, and that maybe one day he could come back and coach again. And, that was, to me, the whole read on this whole scenario is that he's not ready to go coach yet, but he's not ready to close the door. And look, I know you've alluded to it a lot. And it's obvious it's a route that Bill Parcells took, and we know that's a mentor/father figure to him, and that's so I'm sure that's something I'm sure he talked about with him. I would assume so, and so it's and I was listening on the way home about the reference that you made to Mike Florio about the Cowboys job after the 2018 season. That kind of surprised me. I'll be honest. I didn't know that was a thing, and that was so. This is not the first time, or second time, or third time that Sean Payton's kind of maybe wanted to step away. But for him, I think the season, and he said the season was fun because I asked him about it. This season was taxing on him, and he kind of brushed that off. And I think this season had been taxing on him, just for given all the circumstances. When you add up Drew Brees is gone, injuries, COVID, evacuation for a month for a hurricane. I mean, that was a lot. And so I think that, and then he's at a point where he's his age, he doesn't need the money. He's been at the same job for 16 years. Anyone who works for a living knows, look, it might be a time to step away. And for Sean, I think this is stepping away, but we're not going to be without him. I mean, he's going to be doing something connected to football, whether it's TV or in a couple of years, he'll be back coaching somewhere.
Okay, last thing then. What's next for the Saints?
Well, when the discussion of head coach, candidate will have a say-so, and Sean Payton said, look, there's a great candidate over there, and Dennis Allen. And Dennis Allen was at the press conference. I know he was scheduled to interview with the Bears. I know he wasn't supposed to be in Chicago, but I could tell you Chicago media is basically Xing him off the list, that they don't think he's going to be even dealing with the Bears right now. And then when Sean Payton mentioned that, Gail Benson, you heard her chuckle, and then I turned and look, and Dennis Allen's sitting kind of right behind her, and he kind of smiles and kind of ducks his head down, and there's playing bashful. And look, I think he's the prime number one candidate. I know the Saints are going to have to do coaching interviews. I mean, that's part of the NFL cycle. Like, you have to do interviews, and of course the Rooney Rule does apply here. So you have to do interviews, but I'd be shocked if it wasn't Dennis Allen, and I think he deserves the job.
He is Larry Holder. Of course, you can read stuff at theathletic.com/New Orleans, on Twitter at Larry Holder. Busy day, man. We always appreciate you. You know that. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, you got it, bud. Take care.
All right, be well. It is After Further Review. HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. Tell you every day, do business with someone you know. HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. Rain today. A lot of times when it rains is when you realize that you have a roof issue. I want to remind you, if it's a roof replacement, if it's a roof repair, if it's a soft wash to clean your roof, or the entire exterior of your home, if it's gutters, we do it all. It's HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. You can feel free to email me directly if you want. I'm happy to facilitate for you. Matt@HUDCOroofing.com. Matt@HUDCOroofing.com. But really, what I'd love for you to do is just start at the website. There's a Contact Us Now tab right there on the homepage. You tap that, you fill out a little info, boom, you're in our system, and we have someone get in touch with you pronto. Look, even if you're going through a closing, I'll tell you, I talked to my brother last night. Brother put an offer on a house. There's an issue through inspection. They're having a back and forth. They wanted to get a roofer up on there. We're going to go try to help facilitate this to get this deal done. So if you're a realtor and you're having issues with roofs getting to a closing table, give us a shout. Let our people, our inspectors, our insurance agents go to work for you. HUDCO Roofing and HUDCOroofing.com. Do business with someone you know. HUDCOroofing.com. All right, we'll knock out our final break of the show. We'll get Otter Locks next. What's the Otter betting on tonight? We'll find out next on AFR.
AFR.
Speaking of realtors, if you are buying or selling a home, call the realtor that sells more homes than anyone. Call Darren James. Get your home sold. 335-7666, 335-7666, or agent225.com. There are so many reasons to call Darren James. Of course, what I just alluded to, sells more homes than anybody. Wall Street Journal's list of the top 1% of realtors in America. Also, of course, Darren's got his Love It or Leave It program. Buy a home from Darren, got to move within a year for whatever reason, he'll sell your home for free for his half of the commission. Darren's worked out a deal with a moving company to give you extreme discounted rates to hire a moving company to take the stress out of the move. Darren even throws a housewarming party for you and your family when you move into a new home if you buy one from him. Darren goes above and beyond for his clients. He's done it for me. He'll do it for you. 335-7666, 335-7666, or agent225.com.
And our topic today is about savings. What is savings?
Hancock Whitney isn't just a bank for our clients. We're investing in our hometowns, making life better for everyone. So keep dreaming. We've got your back.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
To the heroes who are working tirelessly to care for our communities, we thank you. We will never forget the countless hours you dedicated on the front lines, choosing to risk your own health to fight for our friends, neighbors, and family members.
I mean, you guys are out on the front lines fighting it.
We are grateful for your heroic acts and unwavering spirit. Together, we are overcoming this adversity and make our state healthier and more vibrant again. Auctioner Health.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, We've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares.
Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Call for a free quote to see how much you can save. 293-0450. After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Always remember our friends at South Point Volkswagen Airline, just north of Highland. Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer is South Point Volkswagen, with 9 different IIHS top safety picks. You get the style, the feel, the performance of luxury with one of the safest vehicles on the road, the great German engineering without the cost, and manufactured right here in the US of A at their Tennessee plant. Go test drive one today or shop them online at southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction? All right, one thing left to do. Let's find out what we're betting on tonight. Time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks, presented by Clark Crane Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in St. Francisville. Because a great deal is worth the short drive to Clark Crane.
So we turn to the one and only, the incomparable and often incomprehensible, the Yacht Father himself, Jimmy Yacht. Otter, how are you?
Doing good, man. I heard you talking about great coverage today. I was riveted listening to Sean Payton, an emotional Sean Payton, a humane Sean Payton. And I heard you talk about with people, for the younger listeners, the Saints history and how bad they were. You talked about Russell Erskine. Don't forget that he was a punter and a place kicker.
And a kicker.
He did both.
Did both.
Yeah.
But he was listed as a punter. I know he did both, but still, to take a kicker 11th overall is unprecedented, if not altogether stupid.
Can I add a few, if you don't mind?
Please, by all means.
Local blackouts growing up in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
Bad head. Okay, I think we started that. The ain't. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. One of my personal favorites, chasing Super Balls down the ramp at the Super Bowl. And then always get a program, because we want to get to the Dome, the Saints games, and fly paper airplanes, and hopefully you can get on the field, and that would be the biggest cheer from the crowd all game long, is when somebody would hit the Saints helmet on the 50 with the paper airplane. Those were the days, baby. Yes, I think the culture has changed just a tad. And the ownership, too.
No doubt.
What Benson started and what Miss Gale elevated. So all the speculation whether he's going to go to another job, if you're used to operating in that way, how many jobs are going to allow Sean Payton to operate that way, including in Arlington? That would be different.
Dallas, ain't no way.
Yeah. So, all right. So 1-2. Apologize about that last night.
Oh, so good, man. Let's get back on a winning ways tonight.
All right. ESPN triple header tonight for you, and we'll go in reverse order. First of all, Arizona goes to Pauley Pavilion. This will be the first game since early December that the UCLA Bruins, they have fans at the game. So they will have fans at the game tonight. And I like them to come back a little bit and catching 3 at home. I like that one. I'm looking up the lineup as I speak right now for Illinois and Michigan State because we're trying to see if Kofi Cockburn is out. He is out. Okay, it's confirmed. This is the first one that's going in 5 minutes on ESPN. They got blasted by Maryland. Now Michigan State has rebounded since losing at home to Northwestern with a couple of impressive wins, including Friday night at Madison, Wisconsin. Just drilled them easily. I like Michigan State, and that thing is moving all around. So
what are you looking at? What are you looking at right now in Michigan State?
Oh, I got it at +5 early. You're not getting that anymore. So I'm looking at Illinois 4. Gosh, if you can, that's.
Oh God, I'm looking at 2.5, Otter.
Yeah, no, but Michigan State should be favored. They should be favored in this game without Cockburn.
You like a little money line play, maybe?
Absolutely. All right, one more thing. Maryland, because they beat Illinois without Cockburn, now they go to Rutgers. Jersey Mike, that has been really good this year to us. We're going with Rutgers again at home. And in the middle game, Mississippi State, big win against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is out 3 starters. So I'm trying not to overreact to some situational wins over the weekend. We're going with Kentucky -9. They're playing really good right now. They'll bounce back from their loss in Auburn over the weekend. We like Kentucky -1. So the triple header on ESPN. We've got Michigan State, Kentucky, and UCLA, and we also have Rutgers.
All right, Rutgers laying the 3.5. That's what I'm looking at right now. All right, good day, man. I'm sure more Sean Payton coverage for you all tonight.
For sure. You know, Mike haven't played a couple of years with the Saints, so. You know, he follows it very closely. And he's with me over at Mike Anderson's Restaurant Week, by the way. So we'll talk about that. I'll have Corey Johnson will be with us. Of course, Matt Newman's with the golf picks. How about that? Good job by golf. They start the tournament tomorrow. It'll be Wednesday through Saturday. They don't want to compete with the conference championship game on Sunday. So it's been a big show over here at Mike Anderson. It's been a burn out.
Game time with Jimmy on follows us. If you're not in Baton Rouge, or online at 1045ESPN.com. Thank you, Otter.
Good job today, man. Thank you, buddy.
Be well. Muse, what'd you learn today?
Sean Payton brought king cakes for everybody.
How about that? Paulie?
Sean Payton Googled how not to cry at press conference.
He did do that.
What'd you learn today, Matt?
That Lance Moore, Mickey Loomis wanted him to go play at NFL Europe. Worked out okay.
AFR.
Michelle Weighing and Measurement celebrating 75 years. If you're not following Michelle on social media, do that because it's pretty cool. If you're into history and certainly into Louisiana businesses and great Louisiana companies, you'll get a lot of it because Michelle is celebrating 75 years in business. So they're kind of digging into their archives and posting a lot of these great memories. 75 years. They just posted this picture today of G.T. Michelle Jr. from 1951. While he was still in high school, joined his father's staff. He was the dedicated, innovative, customer service, focus-driven force that's led to so much success that they've had there at Michelle Weighing and Measurement for 75 years. If you weigh or measure something, Michelle sells, services, and rents the products that you use to weigh and measure. So learn more online. Find that calibration lab near you at Michelle.com for Michelle Weighing and Measurement. 75 years strong. Michelle.com.
Bayou Ford has 0.9% for 60 months on new Ford F-150, plus $1,000 bonus cash. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. And right now, get $1,000 bonus cash, plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on new 2021 Ford F-150. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.